Okay, so what is going on today? Let me get settled in here and pull up the chat. So, first things first. No, let me just pull up the chat. I always forget how to do that. Alright, I'm just gonna go on the YouTube video then and see the chat that way. There we go. Hey Neko, how you doing? Alright, so first things first, let me start recording. Alright, so I'm gonna be tape reading today and going over the weekly analysis. But before I do that, I want to go over some changes to my summer. There's a lot of variables that I'm not too sure about. We're going through a move, so my family is moving to the country. I know that our current Wi-Fi providers don't work there, and we're having issues with the data too on our phones. Therefore, there's a lot of things I don't know, and there's even more issues like water coming in to the basement. And some of the showers are not working, so it's like a house that we're all renovating, and it's going to take a lot of work. Therefore, like my trading, I want to trade, and I want to try to keep streaming in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm okay too. Neko, I'm doing very well this morning. And hold on, one of the chart is not working. Wait. So it either it's your Wi-Fi that's ODICT or you don't have data. If you look at the top left, check if it's market open, if the green light is on. If it's on, then it should be good, and then you should be seeing the timer work out. Alright, so yeah, there's just a lot of unknown variables in the next couple weeks. That's why I don't know if I will be able. I want to just do the weekly review. I want to stay committed to that. I'll do it before work if I have to, or go to the library to record it or upload it. But yeah, I hope that I'll be able to have access to good Wi-Fi and be able to trade. But even then, I don't know, with all the work we'll have to do. You know, it might demand me to take less time on the charts, but we'll see. Anyways, with that out of the way, I'm going to go into the weekly review, or weekly analysis. So, oh, he was on regular trading hours. Alright, so this is Sunday, what I have outlined for the week. I want to try and get this done before 9:30 open, but slow summer price action seasonally. Q2 goes lower and Q3 may initially go higher. With how bullish Q2 was, I'm prepared to see further higher prices in Q3. Alright, so I don't see a change in the conditions out there with where people believe the markets are going. People still believe interest rates are going to cut, and so I think that gives more, it makes it easier for the stocks to go up when we're in that environment. But also nothing on the chart shows that we're changing the delivery. So on the daily chart, and we had a huge down close day, which potentially may be leaving an order block. However, I'm not considering a bearish order block off the highest up close candle. This is because the manipulation swing occurred in the yellow highlighted range. So I'm talking about the manipulation higher. If we are going lower, the order block should be formed in the yellow area. So that's the whole order block. That run from this low to that high above this short-term high. And that's if we're going lower, and that's the manipulation that creates the order block. And then the breaker would be those down close candles. So I'm not picking a top. I'm not saying that we're reversing and we're going to go lower in the next couple of days and weeks until we get down to these lows and we close and displace beneath this low to form that order block on like the weekly chart or the monthly chart. And so right now I'm still bullish. We came down to a discount of the range. We've reached into the daily fair value gap, and we've started to rebalance this up down close candle. I indicated last week that the S&P was much stronger. You can see that if you compare on the 4-hour chart, it'll be easy to see, but you had better manipulation on the S&P higher, right, which with the bodies going above these bodies, but not on the NASDAQ. So if you look at the bodies, there's SMT there. And then you drew lower, but not to the week's low, while the NASDAQ went way past the week's low. So the S&P is definitely stronger, and you can see it made almost a new all-time high, going all the way back, while the NASDAQ did not. It was still shy of that all-time high, right? So we're seeing the S&P sort of lead, and I believe the S&P usually is going to be in the middle between the Dow and the NASDAQ, and wherever the NASDAQ's going, usually that's where the market sees the strongest moves, the best moves too. So the fact that NASDAQ is lagging, it may be, I don't know, it may be because the markets want to go a little deeper, a little lower, right? But I'm right now on the hourly chart that there's nothing telling me that okay, we are going to continue going lower. Like, we bounced off the daily fair value gap, we created this up close price action. For me to want to go lower, I need to see how we trade inside this hourly reclaimed order block, and if we're going to close beneath that 4-hour fair value gap there. Other than that, I think that we, I mentioned the Sunday, before I go to dollar, the Sunday open, to identify how these current levels on the chart react to price, because how that we play around the new week opening gap is going to be important. And I'm giving myself today, like, I'm not trading today, and I believe there's Powell speaking at 12 anyway, but I'm not trading today because I want to give myself to see, what the order flow is telling me for the week. Are we more likely to the NASDAQ to bring the S&P and the Dow lower, or stagnate a bit for their higher prices and have a little stop run, or are we going to just continue going higher? But I am not like bearish on the daily chart, right? I'm just wanting to see a low be placed in, or potentially, if that's possible. And the dollar still going lower to the sell side target I've had for a couple of weeks now. These made relative equal lows. We've closed beneath this daily fair value gap, so I don't know if it got ran yet, but we'll check that out. And for the bonds, we're going up to that buy side liquidity. I still have the same target, except I'm noting how we are in a premium now. So we're closing above that 50%. So we could see some more retracements. We are trending a little bit, creating a bit of liquidity. I'm noting that thin black line in case this is manipulation to create an order block. So I want to watch today, see how this next daily candle closes. Ideally, I'd want it to keep going higher towards these relative equal highs up there. And this would bring the stocks higher too. And with the dollar going lower, this would also help the stocks go higher. All right, so that's kind of where my mind's at. There's nothing bearish right now in my analysis. Now, looking at the overnight session, immediately you just notice a trend. So I don't know how comfortable I feel off of this trend. This is the new week opening gap in yellow, and that's the hourly reclaimed order block I was watching. All right, so we kind of slowly trending up here. It's not a very fast trend, right, but it's still a trend. The London session, if I measure it, it's still quite big, and maybe we can compare it to previous London sessions, but you see, like, this London session kind of stayed more consolidated, didn't really trend more. But because the trend is very slow and lackluster, I think we could still move this morning despite the trend. But we'll see. I don't know if I want to take anything, because, well, actually Powell's speaking, right? So no, that's tomorrow. Yeah, there's nothing today, so I don't want to take anything. So go ahead and log out. Another thing too that I'm doing is I'm instead of trading my 50K account, I will be trading the 25K account instead. This one was actually in drawdown. It went all the way down to 24,000, and I within 5 trading days, no 5 trading days, not like in a row, but I brought it back with micros all the way back to 25,000. So break even, almost break even. So if I do trade in the summer, it's gonna be 4 micros on this account, and then I want to see if in the winter when price action becomes better, I might do a trade copy on both these PA accounts. But for now, I want to just take it easy, and of course with the moving, I probably won't trade at all, but we'll see. So I just want to study price action and see what it's gonna do for the week. Let's go to the dollar. So the dollar had this new week opening gap, and actually I had some charts from last night. So I might try to find a small market maker buy model to form on the fill of this gap. So today, so I want to see price fill this, and potentially as it's coming down here overnight, create a market maker buy model, a little bit of reversal, and then target the highs, and then maybe go to this buy side liquidity. Right, I'm not seeing, because this short-term low got ran out and we saw a reaction higher, and we have relative equal highs up there. We could see a buy side run before going lower, seeking more sell side to sort of make a high of the week. And then on the Nasdaq, I noted that new week opening gap, and I said it looks like we might be supported by that, and we could potentially see some accumulation. I preferred it would consolidate around the week opening gap in between the hourly reclaimed order block. Instead, it did a lackluster trend, slowly getting up to that reclaimed order block. And I also happen to be looking at Bitcoin. So we're seeing a sort of a market maker buy model. I hope so. At least, obviously, we're gonna have to see if it plays out within the next 2 months. But relative equal highs on Bitcoin. We had a bit of consolidation and a sharp run lower, which is now showing bullish order flow. I want to see if today we're going to close above these up close candles. That would create a reclaimed order block. Inside that reclaimed order block, there's an inverse fair value gap. So I'd be looking at that inverse fair value gap with the reclaimed order block to support price and draw it higher towards that buy side liquidity to form a market maker buy model. So it's just something that I noticed, not something I'm going to trade. But I do look at Bitcoin sometimes to kind of give me a sense of where everyone's head's at in the market, right? Like oftentimes stocks will rally higher with Bitcoin and with gold and all these things. So it's nice to get a sort of overview of what all the markets are doing. All right, so that's it for everything I had in advance. And now the dollar is filling this. Now I want to see, is it going to make a low? Right now, order flow is still bearish on the hourly chart and the 4-hour chart, right? So nothing, no low. I can't say any low has been priced in. If I'm still bearish on the dollar, then that would give me the ability to see nicer runs higher on the Nasdaq. Right, so if we go back to the indices or anything really priced in dollars, the S&P is a little bit stronger. You can see, compare the trend Nasdaq to the S&P, and the Dow, definitely the Dow is a lot stronger. I don't know, the Dow's been catching up. It's a lot more bullish than the Nasdaq and the S&P, almost near its all-time highs. If you compare it to the previous couple days, but we've known that the Dow took a huge beating in these two April and May, end of May, compared to the Nasdaq and the S&P. But this could be the beginning to a high that could form this summer, right? We could see the Nasdaq start to, I don't know, because usually August and September might make a run lower into October. At least that's what happened last year. If I go to NQ, the contract over contract month, I remember last year I was trading and see like mid-July we priced in a high, and we started this run lower in August, which made a low in October. That's a seasonal tendency. The May we usually go lower, and then June and July might go higher and then create a retracement into the beginning of the year, February, March period. Obviously, with May going higher, it was not really a retracement into those months, but into the May months and all. So that could happen. I'm aware of that. I'm not trying to pick the top though. I really don't want to do that. But there's nothing telling me that we're going lower immediately. I still need more information to confidently say that we're going to go lower. Okay, so that's it for that. Now I guess we have 10 minutes before the market opens. So if anyone wants to ask anything, for me to check out anything, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'll be waiting until that 9:30 open. Alright, did I log out? Oh, I didn't log out. Yeah. We have some imbalance on the odd time frames, like 3 weekly or 2 weekly. Would you ever consider something like that? Honestly, I don't think the question is like, do I need to consider something like that? I know some people will go on like the 8-hour chart, 6-hour chart, and they'll use that, and I think that's fine. It's just that I don't know. I feel like when you know what you're trading, when you have a model, you can make it work on specific time frames. And so for my bias, it's the same thing. Like I don't need to have every single time frame, just a handful of them, right? So I'm sure you can make it work by just using a 2 week. Is it useful to use 1 week, 2 week, and 3 week? I wouldn't know. I simply don't look at it to know enough. But what you could do is use something like the monthly or the 3 week to sort of this imbalance, for example, like understand where the most imbalance is occurring. So you would highlight this part because it is a 3 week imbalance with a 1 week or whatever that is, probably daily imbalance, and then 2 week you can do the same thing. That's what I would do if I was trading on those charts, but obviously I don't, so I don't think I know enough to be able to answer that question. Like I don't use the 30-minute chart, for example. I know a lot of people use it, but I don't use the 30-minute chart because I already have the 15-minute chart, and for the purposes I use the 15-minute chart, they're already served on that chart, so I don't need to go to the 30-minute chart. It's all about what do you use a time frame for, I guess, for me at least. I want to see if this 50-minute gap is going to get inversed, right? Because just looking at the 5-minute chart, probably you can see it better. Yeah, we had this run. Right, let me remove that, or let me make that invisible in the lower time frame. So we had this run lower here on these. I guess this is part of the run session, but this like consolidation, right? We've cleared the lows of that consolidation. Now, while this is a long wick, I usually don't look at that, but we've definitely come beneath this low. We've reached into potential imbalances down here on different time frames, and we left this other long wick and initially made an attempt higher, a run higher, which could have tricked people into longs, and we stopped those early buyers out with the 8:30 move lower. So I already am identifying one stop run, one manipulation, sort of. So 9:30 open should finish off the move by going higher. I don't know if I would consider it a Judas swing. If 9:30 open, runs it higher towards these highs, yeah, I don't know if I'd consider that a manipulation or a Judas swing, because we've already had sort of manipulation lower in this already premium price action. So what 9:30 could do is keep driving it lower a little bit more, and that would just give more opportunity to get in, potentially down to midnight open. So you always want to mark midnight open. Forgot to do that. Right, we are pretty far up above midnight open, so seeing further retracements is possible, but I don't know. It's looking like this has manipulated, and this could be changing the order flow to go higher. Especially since we already did everything we need to down here. We filled the new week opening gap, and as of now, I'm not really framing a run anything lower, not yet at least. So I want to just see, is this gap going to inverse over here, and how 9:30 open is going to act like this is a 15-minute gap. So let me just note that. Oh, put it inside, and the writing's too big. There you go. Look at the S&P. See, the S&P is a lot higher. This is the S&P just being a lot more bullish, right? And the Dow even more bullish. Barely ran any lower. So the Nasdaq is clearly weak, and so at any time it could start to pull these indices down if it really wants to go lower. But I'm not really seeing anything lower on the Nasdaq. So if it wants to push up, I want to see it eventually catch up and surpass the other indices. So the Dow and the S&P 500. I want to see those stagnate eventually if we're going to go higher. Other than that, we could continue to go lower down to the midnight open and then see what happens there. Yeah, 2 minutes before we open up. Okay, apparently my friend is telling me Powell's speaking today. Let me check that. Hold on. I thought it was tomorrow. My trading view says tomorrow. No, he is speaking today. Yeah, I thought he was speaking at 12. So yeah, so definitely no trade day. It's gonna be way better trade at after lunchtime in the afternoon. So I expect the afternoon to probably be a little bit better. But if I'm looking at who can we stop out at this 9:30 open, I think the first 30 minutes should be pretty good. It would be higher. Like I would be looking to long to find reasons to go long. But first, I need the order flow to show me that we're gonna go higher. So that would mean closing above this 15-minute fair value gap and then changing the order flow higher to confirm that we are gonna go higher, right? But thinking we're gonna go higher is not the same as price actually being in the state that it's gonna go higher. I'd also be measuring this 15-minute gap to see all the quadrant levels, so the quarters. Now this, again, shouldn't be a Judas swing. Once we run up here, you shouldn't expect lower prices. It could go lower, but it's probably going to be slow, or it's not going to do it at all, right? Because we've already had the manipulation at 8:30. And the Dow just ran it already. These relative equal highs back here could provide some sort of short-term retracement because they're relatively equal. And I would also be looking at this order block here, potentially resist price. Just be wary of that. This is a place where if I'm in a trade, I want to be taking partials at. And see we closed right above it, came back into the gap. We're now seeing support. So I want to see now 50%, 75%, and the low end. See if it's really going to resist price and set it higher. So far, obviously, it's not giving me that. Unless the low end wants to support it here. I always got to give it a couple minutes, settle down, and really pick a direction. This is probably a better area to look at. Okay, those relative equal highs got ran out. The next target's the buy side liquidity, and then after that we can just continue going higher to who knows, until probably until like the 10 o'clock hour. We're probably going to start to seek and destroy. But to be safe, I would just have everything off at that buy side liquidity. So we're seeing a little bit of a short-term retracement on the break of these highs, but I wouldn't, if it comes down here and it starts consolidating and stays down here, I wouldn't consider this flip because we just slightly went above it with the wicks. This is more just going to accumulate more of those stops, because this is going to be seen as resistance, at least, right? Because it quickly came up there and swept it. Now it's only retracing to put more liquidity up here. Again, like, pretend this is on a daily chart, because price is fractal, the algorithm works the same way on every time frame. If this is a daily chart and you had investors and the candle closed down here and you had investors trying to guess where price is going, you can imagine how many stops would be at this high. So you just kind of, I understand in the 1 minute chart there's probably not many stops that are attractive to the algorithm up here, but if this was a weekly chart or a daily chart, you probably would have liquidity on the bounce of these highs, because this would be seen majorly as resistance by most people. So remember the price is fractal. Now on a 50-minute chart, we still have not closed above this gap, so I can't tell you order flow on the higher time frame is actually bearish yet. Or sorry, bullish, I mean. 5 minute did close above, so you can kind of use that. But a lot of volatility moving around. I couldn't imagine myself holding a trade to this buy side liquidity from this. I mean, the way it just goes all the way down, all the way up, all the way back down, it's just too hectic for me. I feel like this would take up a lot more mental equity than it would be worth it for the P&L. How is S&P doing? Probably, yeah, going higher. So S&P nearly back at their all-time high. I mean, doesn't move as fast as the Nasdaq does, and we're seeing a steady trend. A little bit of slowdown, and that prompted the Nasdaq to have a heart attack. But the Dow too is, well, saw a huge run lower and all the way back up now to the highs. So nothing's really changed. I don't like how the Nasdaq is weak though to go higher, but I still think the only liquidity we can reach for is higher. I would have liked it to lead there, but it doesn't look like it's going to lead. I'm interested in seeing if it's going to pull the other indices lower. Like if the S&P and the Dow start to retrace, the Nasdaq might see a move like the midnight open, maybe move down to there. But so far, like, I don't know, I'm still think most liquidity, it'd be better if the algorithm runs up there, especially considering the Powell speech in the afternoon. I think this is gonna seek and destroy, accumulate on the bigger time frames. So I'm not really looking for it to expand down lower, which is why it's very unfavorable. Because usually, I always like to see the Nasdaq lead. It hit a 4-hour fair value gap. Sort of, we would need to see if it disrespect one of those fair value gaps, in my opinion. We're talking about the S&P 4-hour fair value gap. Or are you talking about the Nasdaq? If you're talking about this 4-hour fair value gap, by the way, Neko, you can confirm. But I don't really like, hold on, I don't like one thing I really don't like is when I see things on all these different time frames. I gotta clean this up a little bit. You said no, I meant the NASDAQ. Okay, yes, you're talking about this fair value gap. The thing about that fair value gap that I don't like is it's very imbalanced. When we have these huge gaps like that, it's usually gonna see a quick run. This is usually manipulation. It's really nice and quick. It goes down to discount, bounces from there. Usually you see it kind of fill, and if you want to understand, exactly how you can know that is you just measure it and you start to look at the equation levels, how it reacts off of each level. So we're traced deep into it, and we have a potential breaker there, but if you're focusing on the hourly chart, then it's easy to see how it can go lower. That's why I said that it's possible. There's things that could lead us to see deeper lower prices. But if you're focusing on the daily chart, like I did on my weekly analysis, right? You know that for it the only way it's gonna go lower is if this yellow area, and let me move that from the daily chart. This is the order block. So we're bullish until at least I'm bullish until we close beneath this yellow area, because that's where the order flow will have turned from being bullish to bearish. So until then, I'm going into every day expecting, when we're in a discount, to go higher. So we are in a discount, right? So on the daily chart, it's easy to see this thing run higher this week instead of actually going lower, falsifying everything on the hourly chart and making this manipulation. Alright, so don't trade the patterns. Remember, look at the logic and trade that. Again, this is how I'm thinking. I'm not saying that, oh, we hit the buy side liquidity. We came back to the 2-minute gap and then ran it very quickly. So that was about, how many points? About 45 points. Alright, after this I would be done. I'd be done for the day. Honestly, I'm probably going to head over to the Discord, Dom's Discord, and there's this one guy who uses this pivot boss indicator, and he claims that he can call the high and low of the day consistently, but it doesn't work sometimes, like on CPI days, and apparently probably today, to be honest. But when it does work, he starts going off, and he basically parades around. So I like to troll him every time he's in there. I don't know, this thing apparently, I think it's this one. Yeah, this is some weird shit. There's a book on it. He just kept telling us to read the book. But apparently this can predict the high and low of the day. So I don't know if it's saying it's going to make the high over here. Yeah, I have no idea what any of this means. This is crazy. People actually trade like this. What the heck? Yeah, he really can. But he keeps leaving and coming back. And he's like 30 something years old. The fact that he's trying to prove that he can is just telling enough. Heartbeat and blood pressure indicator. Yes, sir. Yeah, his heartbeat and blood pressure is all the way up whenever he's looking at those indicators, because he has no idea what he's doing. Anyone that relies on indicators, I mean, you can make money with that, but you need to understand that you're not like me. What I do today, I got up, I said I want to see a run to buy side liquidity. I want to see the order flow show me it's going to be bullish, well ahead of the 9:30 open, right? Since last night. Well, I guess I didn't have this price action last night, but indicators, I'd be reacting to what they're telling me, right? And it would be different. I can still make money, but it's just not the same thing. I just call that good money management. if you're using indicators instead of good good trading. Because to me, trading is predicting where price is going to go and then acting on it, right? Like I told you price would go up here. I told you why I don't want to trade though. Powell's speaking. We're on Monday. We don't have any news this morning, you know, and I expect seek and destroy. So to take it easy, I just tape read and watch this play out, give my thoughts on it. Oh, by the way, now we've went up to this buy side liquidity and we've came all the way back down, balancing out this range. This is a balanced price range, so price shouldn't really want to come back into this whole area. I mean, I'd expect this gap to stay open. And then we'll see if it runs down to that midnight open here, and then just I wouldn't really expect it to do much else after that. In fact, it could just consolidate in this whole area from here. That 15-minute chart still did not close above, so who knows, we could always see a run back here later. But man, it is violent. But yeah, all I was saying is that, you know, I don't, sometimes I bash on it, people that use indicators. Actually, my best friend who is a trader, I've known him since we were kids. He uses indicators. He uses EMAs, and he also trades ICT. And you know, that's okay, but they don't tell you. Musk started a rocket ship on the Nasdaq because, my lord, what? Yeah, you mean it went up really quickly? Yeah, my stream temporarily disconnected. Sorry about that. I wanted to see it run to that midnight open, and then I would be done. I wouldn't be looking to predict anything else. Yeah, it definitely didn't age well. Yeah, I mean, once we got up to the buy side liquidity, there was, I guess, just really just lower to go to, back to the minute open. I didn't think it would do it this quick, but this is insanely quick. Looks like the rocket failed. It blew up. Or back inside that 15-minute fair value gap. This, now again, if we're gonna go lower at the midnight open, if we're gonna keep making new lows, this should not get filled. So preferably I don't even want to see it halfway get traded to. The reason why is because this range on the left is completely balanced. So we have no reason to go back up here other than to create liquidity down here. So I would measure 50%. Right, but keep in mind we are in a condition where it's probably gonna be seek and destroy. So I don't know if it just not, I wouldn't trust it to go lower if it fills this gap. It would be crazy though if it goes up and makes a new high. That, I'll be honest, would not expect that to happen. Interesting actually that now the Dow at 940 start go lower at 943 and then Nasdaq 943. So interesting that the Dow now is lower than the Nasdaq. This might be the Nasdaq just catching up and now being the leader. I don't know, potentially being bullish. From a 15-minute perspective, this is really ugly. Nothing really happened interesting in this area. Like, who would want to trade this? Okay, and the Dow still making those lower lows ahead of the Nasdaq. This makes me really uncomfortable that the Dow is the leading index. Like it just usually isn't like that. Maybe in a bear market that might change. Maybe in a bear market, the Dow is the leader, because it might just be weaker than the Nasdaq. But I don't know. I feel like if anything, there's going to be a lot more risk in the tech industry, a lot more volatility in the tech industry if we're in a bear market. What made me a scalper and not a swing trader or day trader? That's a good question. So before I always tried to be a day trader, where I would hold trades throughout mornings and days. But with my personality, I found that, well, one, it's a question about growing into a day trader. I think it's a lot easier to scalp, for one. Do it consistently, I think it's just as hard. But if you start out as a scalper, I think it's, for me at least, it's easier because I'm holding trades for a very small period of time, right? Like my average trade is 5 minutes to, it's like maybe 7 minutes actually. The longest trade is up to 20 minutes. I mean, I haven't taken a trade over 10 minutes in a while, but this year at least my biggest trade was about 20 minutes, 17 to 20 minutes, somewhere around there. And so I like to get in and get out really quickly, and that way I'm not changing my mind very often. And with the time I have, right, trading from 9:45 to 11, it's very easy to find these quick scalps or trades to get the session bias, or most of it at least, or piece of it. It's comfortable, right? I don't feel as comfortable going for these long day trades, even less swing trades. I wouldn't be a good swing trader because I'd be questioning myself too often. And I'm sure that would just be a different set of challenges that I could deal with. But with the schedule I have, I just find it easier to deal with the scalping problems, which would mainly be, well, because you're on a lower time frame, you have so many more opportunities. You also have more risk, I guess. You're more exposed to risk. You're likely going to be using more leverage because you're going for smaller points. So you're, using a bigger position size for a smaller amount of points, and so that could lead to a whole lot of things like moving your stop, trading too many times inside that hour. Right, if I'm a swing trader and I get stopped out, I might have another week before my next opportunity. It's not going to be like right away, and so I'll be in a better mindset to take it, but it'll also require more patience. So they all have their own sort of problems and challenges you need to deal with. I just picked to deal with the ones that scalping brought. Hello, Amash Lama. Welcome to the channel. I'm probably gonna end it soon. I'm actually a little late, but um, I just want to see if this gap is gonna respect price. Preferably, like if we're gonna keep going lower, I don't want this to fill. And we're showing that we're really not wanting to go lower. And then the Dow is absolutely having a heart attack. So this would mean that the Nasdaq would be following the Dow, submitting to the Dow's will, and usually you don't want to see that. If we're gonna go lower, you want to see the Nasdaq be the leader. But the fact that it's higher, I'm just waiting until the Dow starts to consolidate, and then it's probably going to send the Nasdaq higher to make another high. But I don't see where it could start to consolidate. So and the S&P just in the middle. Oh, sorry, I'm back. Yeah, so I want to see if that gap inside the 15-minute gap, so this one, which is also balanced with that one. You see the 950 candle. If that doesn't hold price, I want to see a quick rundown to midnight open. Yeah, so this is where it should be quick. It should really run lower here. If it doesn't, then I don't know. Probably just gonna consolidate so you can destroy. It wicked into it, so I don't know. The bodies are closing into it. I don't know. Looks like it's gonna fail. Or not. The reason it's really hard to trust lower because there is like I can't there's no really liquidity. We took liquidity higher and lower. So also what could happen is we just consolidate 50% of this range, which we have been doing already. There's nowhere really to go because we just took liquidity both sides of the market. I think I think it's gonna get better in the afternoon because we had that trend in overnight and Powell speaking at 12. So because this took buy side and then this took sell side, I would just expect it to consolidate within the dealing range, which the current dealing range is that buy side to the sell side run, which is this area. So I'd watch 50% of that and want to see price just kind of stick around that level. Man, this is really frustrating, huh? If you were in a trade any direction, I think both sides would be quite worried here because it's retracing a whole lot. Like I can't confidently tell you whether it's gonna go to the high or low here at all. So that just means probably seek and destroy. This is what's happening. It's probably gonna continue happening until Powell speaks. But anyway, probably gonna end the stream here. I want to just see if this run, give it maybe 5 more minutes, or if it's gonna run the high. No, it's gonna retrace. Alright, so yeah, probably gonna end it here. I'm gonna stop the recording and I'm gonna stop the stream. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if I'll have time to be back on Powell speaking tomorrow, so at 10 o'clock I will wait a minute, that's last week. This is why I didn't see Powell speak this morning. Yeah, we'll probably be back tomorrow. Actually, no, tomorrow I might try and trade, so probably not tomorrow, but Thursday and Friday I'll likely, if I can, I'll likely be back. Yeah, thank you very much and have a good day.